Humankind had so much promise. How did it come to this? The Citadel, our last sigil of hope in the wasteland. Recruit crew members and arm them to the teeth. Create your custom rig from the ground up. Accept missions and conquer enemy outposts. Enemy factions armed with unique tactics await your onslaught. It will be vital to manage your crew as a unit to succeed. Victory, the only thing sweeter than gasoline. Rule the Badlands.
How are you? How are you today?
Yeah, really good, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, no complaints. You been up to much?
Mostly just working on little bits here and there. Can't really remember. The usual, I think. Yeah, usual stuff. A lot of work. Been out a little bit. Been to the pub. Yeah.
Well, saying that then, what does an average day in the life of John, co-founder of, indie video game developer Run a Duck, actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been quite varied. I mean, for a long time, I was balancing it with the bands, so that there was a lot of that. And I mean, we all work from home now, and I'm up in Manchester, and the rest of the team are down in Brighton.
Okay.
So I sort of just get up and start working whenever I can. And we've been doing really long hours on Badlands Crew, so I'd be working, weekends and then evenings until 9 or 10. And it's a lot of work. And then when I was doing the band stuff as well, then I'd sort of be right, done that, now off to go and play a couple of shows and then coming back. And so I really didn't get a break for quite a few years. It's all good fun. I mean, no complaints, but a lot of work and a lot of varied work because there's only 4 of us working on the game. So I'll be doing programming, I'll be doing design. Sometimes I have to do a little bit of writing. I decided, sort of accidentally ended up doing half of the soundtrack on this game as well. I thought, well, I've been playing drums in bands, but I play a bit of guitar. So I picked up my guitar and got going. So it really can be quite varied, but just a lot.
That almost sounds unsustainable. Like that level of busyness, particularly, I guess, what you're talking about near the end of a development cycle, the crunch period, as they love to call it. Right. So, like, but you're aware of that ultimately there are times when you have to kind of step back, I guess.
Yeah. So I think over the summer I'm going to get a bit of a break, which should be nice. I've got a few things planned. I mean, obviously now I've stepped back from Wallowing. I still chat to the guys a lot, which is really nice, but I couldn't fit in all the touring, and they wanted to tour a lot. They really wanted to tour loads more because Tom's got such a big vision for it all, and I want to be the one slowing it down. So I sort of said to him, you guys need to do all of that, but I don't want to get in the way. So I am getting a bit more of a break because of that, and I get a break over the summer before we figure out what's next. But yes, it is unsustainable, and I think we said that to each other at a few points. We were, the rest of the team, we can't go on like this. As much as we want to get the game done, you're exhausted and worn down, and you stop being able to see it. I think that's the difficult thing.
Well, surely it stops becoming fun as well at that stage, right? I mean, if you're not enjoying it, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird balance because you're starting to get tired, and you're starting to, in some ways, stop enjoying the work, but at the same time, that's just at the point that the game's kind of getting good and fun to play. So you're like, this is kind of, so it balances itself out. I think you can actually spend a weekend playing through it and be like, okay, it's all kind of worthwhile. I think, yeah, it's weird really, because I suppose actually this last week we've been doing a patch and we're following up, based on community feedback, and the seeing all the fan reactions and the reviews we're getting on Steam. It kind of, you think, oh well, it was worth it. It was worth all those sort of long evenings and sleepless nights, and all of that. But
yeah, of course. I forget, of course, now you're in the post-release period. It's patches and it's little bits here and there, isn't it? So the work never really stops. It just slows down a little bit.
Yeah, you get a bit of a breather. The pattern changes. When we first launched, we had an interesting week where I'd be trying to fix a whole load of issues in the morning. We'd send it over to our QA. They play it all afternoon, while I kind of waited, and I was deliberately like having a rest. And then it would get released sort of early evening, and then I'd be like watching the forums again, making sure there's nothing broken, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, this weird routine that I had for a couple of weeks straight after launch. Kind of fun, but yeah.
It's not your first rodeo. That's the thing.
No.
We should note as well. But we'll get a little more into that as we go along. As we go along, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Ozzy Osbourne II. And in his head are random cards of everything and everything based around the subjects that we cover. The games, the brains, e.g. the horror, and the headbanging, e.g. the music, plus the life part, which is general stuff. Every so often, in between some of the questions I've got that we're going to talk about regarding you and the studio and Badlands and all of the stuff we're doing on that, I'm just going to pull some up random and you'll answer them. So we're going to get into some of them now, actually.
All right.
And there's a music one. We begin with a music one. If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
That's really tricky. Huh. So I guess there's this. That is really tricky. I'd probably go with Ricochet by Faith No More. Just because I really like it. It's kind of fast. It's exciting. I don't really know what it's about. That kind of feels like my life.
Fabulous, fabulous. Are you a Faith No More fan?
Oh, a huge Faith No More fan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gutted they cancelled that last tour because I had tickets for 3 dates on it, I think.
Oh, wow, 3.
So, yeah, I was going to do Birmingham, London, and Manchester, I think, was my plan. But,
such a shame, isn't it? Have you ever seen them live before?
Yeah, I've seen them pretty much every tour since they came back in 2009. I made sure to catch them at least once each tour that they did. So,
oh, god damn.
Yeah, I never saw them back in the old.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Every time, yeah.
All right, you get a life one now. A general question: if you could live in any city in the world, where would you choose?
Well, I moved to Manchester 5 years ago. I really like living here. It's great. I mean, it's not my favorite city. I think in terms of visiting, there's a lot of places I like to visit. I think in terms of living, actually, I think I'll just stay where I am. Maybe that's not a particularly exciting. It's got everything that I want here. There's good pubs, there's good food, there's gigs on all the time. Most bands that come through are going to be touring here. I live near a tram stop. It's easy to get in and out of town. I think I've got some friends who live sort of in more exciting places around the world, and I like to visit them, but sometimes I think I don't think I could live here. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Where did you move from?
So I was down in Brighton,
right,
which is where the rest of Wallowing were and where King Goat was when I was in King Goat. But I moved around a fair bit before that as well, so it was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, I'm a flying visit to Manchester person. Last time I was there was Damnation in November, and occasionally up there for a gig or so, but I'm London. So everything comes to London, I really have to travel. Yeah,
no, fair enough. Yeah, I go through London a lot, but not often staying there.
Yeah, I don't get to stay too long. Right, another life one. What does the word happy mean to you?
Well, a little while ago, I had a holiday and something I don't often do. I went and we cycled like pretty far, about 100 kilometers. It was a bit too far. And just while I was cycling around, and there was there's amazing views, and I was sort of, not really having to think about the stuff I'm thinking about the rest of the time. I thought, oh, this is really nice. So probably something like that. Had a little break from everything.
It's like a moment of serenity.
Yeah, very different to everything else. I mean, I'm happy most of the time. I think I'm pretty content with everything. But that was really something, I think.
Yeah, something you can never really replicate when it just hits you like that, in a rare moment like that. Because of course, life is, even though you can be enjoying life, it is busy and it's constant, and there's always something, particularly in what you're doing. So those moments where you're doing nothing, it's awesome that you felt that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about it already, but let's actually ask the bigger question, because we got to talk about those who don't know.
Yeah.
Give us an overview of Run a Duck, particularly how you kind of got started and what some of the goals of the studio are.
Yeah. So we started right at the beginning of 2017, and it was just me and Dave at that point. And we've been working together at a mobile game studio for some other people, and we hated it. We just weren't mobile game fans. We didn't like the management there. I usually play this down. Dave's usually quite blunt about it. He'll, say horrible things about it. He hated them. But I didn't like the free-to-play mobile stuff because it felt like we were scamming people, and just the work wasn't enjoyable. And we thought, there's got to be something more. We can do something, we really believe in. Let's just make a really good game, and you sell it at a reasonable price. And if people like it, they buy it. And that to me seemed more like how I wanted to do things. And we'd never really, we're not business people. We'd never really thought about that side of it. I'm a programmer. He's an artist. We had this idea for a game, and we sort of started putting together a little proof of concept. And a couple of publishers got in touch. I'm like, this is a thing that you can do. So we reached out to a few more, and eventually we found Curve, who've published all of our games. And they said, well, if you quit your jobs and want to do this full time, we can help you make that happen. So that's what we did, and we founded the studio. We spent 10 months making that first game, Bomber Crew, and it did really well.
Yeah.
Way better than we ever expected. It was it was crazy, really, and it's kept us going up until now. So, there's 4 of us now, so we haven't expanded much. We're still a small team. We try and do as much of everything that we can ourselves, just make sure that we're focused on making the games good and something that we want to play. I guess that's really it.
It's
don't like any scams, any nonsense, any sort of business stuff like that, we're not into. It's just simple. Make a good game, sell it.
You make it sound so easy. Make a good game and sell it. What should be the case? Without going into too much in depth, I share a lot of the ill feeling towards the free-to-play market on mobiles as well. So it's fabulous you broke away from that. But that moment when you quit your jobs and go, this is you're going in all in on this. That's nerve-wracking, right? Do you remember what you were thinking at the time?
Yeah, because we hadn't actually signed the deal with Curve when we handed our notice in. And so I remember quite clearly, actually, what we did. Me and Dave were at work together, and we used to sit next to each other at work. So, and we were like, well, we're going to go and do it. So we left, we went to the pub outside, and we had a shot of Jaeger and a beer, and we sat down and we wrote our emails together and handed our notice in. And it was a bit nerve-wracking because then we were sort of waiting, and things could have changed. Something could have changed in that month, and the deal didn't go through, and we would have had no funding to make the game, and no marketing and none of that. So it was a bit, but just have to hope with these things. Sometimes I think we were so ready to move on, and so keen to do it that we just jumped. Once it was kind of in front of us that it could happen, the idea of staying another day in that office was it wasn't going to happen.
Right, I can imagine you won out, and then an opportunity, a door
Yeah,
opens, like, and even if it had closed, say shortly afterwards, that moment of seeing the light, the freedom, I think might have just got stuck in your head anyway.
yeah, yeah. That's it. And it all worked out in the end. But yeah, there were a few weeks kind of sat at home thinking, well, I guess we'll hear from them soon. I think.
Mm.
But it's no, it was good. It was exciting really, and a really different journey. Working from home so much nicer than going into an office as well. I mean, just the whole
For
thing
sure.
really, really good.
Did you kind of go? Did you want to be involved in game development growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've always done. I guess I think I
Mm.
started programming when I was about 8. My dad put me in front of Pascal on the computer, and I wasn't writing anything impressive, but making circles appear at random spots on the screen, and then
Yeah.
started learning a bit of BASIC and doing similar things. And by the time I was in secondary school, I was making little games, and so I'd always wanted to do it. Um, and I went to uni and did a course computer science with games development, and that's how I ended up at Codemasters, where my first job was. So I always wanted to do games, and sort of just ended up in it, straight out of uni. I think it just kind of went a bit wrong when I ended up doing the mobile stuff. We ended up doing that by accident and need a bit of a course correction. Because the stuff at Codemasters was great, and it's a shame to hear that they're sort of shutting down that studio, because that's been the last couple of months. It looks like maybe they're shutting it down, because that's where I got my first job. So
Shame.
yeah, it's a shame. But the industry, it's always coming and going. Things are
It's cutthroat, yes.
yeah, yeah, oh, for sure.
Um, I mean, like the mobile side of things, was that
Mm.
like, because there was a point when that blew up, like that
Oh
it
yeah,
felt like that was bigger than ever, like,
yeah,
and was that kind of roughly the time you got involved?
yeah. So it seemed like, because I was down in Brighton at that time, and we left some other companies. We were a company down there called Relentless, which did the Buzz quiz games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did those. I joined slightly after that, but it was that kind of company. So it was fun, fun game stuff. But they, we could see where that was going. And they ended up shutting. And then it just seemed like every games job that was available in Brighton was mobile. That's what everyone was
Mm.
starting up. Small companies were starting doing mobile, and that's sort of how we got swept up in that. Really, there wasn't a huge amount else going at the time, I think, in terms of opportunities. And we hadn't really figured out the indie game stuff ourselves at that point. I mean, we saw other people doing it, and I had some friends doing it. Sometimes I guess it's like a sort of imposter syndrome thing. You just think,
Mm.
well, that's a thing other people do. That's not something I could do. And I
Yeah.
think it took a few years of doing something we really didn't enjoy to think, oh, hang on, we could do that.
What a damning indictment of the free-to-play mobile gaming market that would
Mm.
drive creatives to go out and make their own goddamn studio because it's that
Yeah,
terrible now.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it was horrible, and like a weird cult vibe to the place as well. It was not good.
I'm getting an image now. Making one a duck of reality, though, that is a whole different thing. Our costs,
Mm.
obviously, and stuff like that. The deal with Curve
Yeah,
we've talked about. What did it take to actually make it a reality to the point where you could sit there and go, "This studio, I've co-founded."
yeah. I mean, we're both quite practical people, so I mean, there was a whole lot of admin stuff.
Mm.
But really, the main thing was making sure we had a good sort of demo of the game and a way to
Mm.
show the game, because once people see that, they can go, well, that's real. That's a real thing. Um, and a lot of it was on that. I think it was like, well, people could see this game was going to get done. They knew
Yep.
that we worked in the industry quite a long time, so we were going to finish it on time. We were going to have all these. So a lot of it was that. But I think back then as well, there's a little bit of the publisher helping out. They had connections with Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony, so they could get us tickets, and we could do that. I don't think that's particularly easy to do completely on your own. So there was a lot that the publisher were kind of
Yeah.
opening doors for us. But most of the time, it's really just like you got to get on with the work. You got to focus on it, and you know.
You're promising a game. You're saying you're creating a game. You're going to release this game. You basically, that's your part. That's how you make the studio happen, by doing the thing you're supposed to do.
Oh, completely. And you know, there were moments, I think maybe like even 2 months before it was meant to be done, you're thinking, is this going to be done? Is it really going to be done in time? And I think it was about a week before, suddenly just this calm hit, because we were like, oh, it is. You know, oh wow, that's amazing. And almost for the last week, didn't do anything. It's done. Just, you know, sit back a bit. That didn't happen with Badlands Crew, sadly, but I think I was panicked right up until the morning of. But
well, that was your third. That's a third game, and this, like, you knew, and bigger and better each time, right? So like it was always going to be more work.
Yeah, it was too big. I mean, I think we've really hit what you can do with 4 people. I think Badlands Crew was a little bit too big for 4 people. I think you know,
we'll get a little bit more into the game specifically in a bit.
Yeah,
because I want to focus still on your life's plan, so to speak. Because amongst all of this, and we've touched upon it at the start already, you become a musician, a drummer in the likes you mentioned, of course, of Wallowing and King Goat. How does becoming a musician tie into your life's plan? You growing up and you want to be a game developer.
Yeah.
Where does drumming come in?
So I guess I'd always played music, and I'd always been into music, and you know, through my teenage years, I've been going to a lot of gigs in London, because I lived in London at that point. You know, I played a bit of guitar back then, and I had some drums. I didn't play a huge amount of drums, but I'd always played in like bands that hadn't really done much, you know, just with some mates or whatever. And obviously when I moved down to Brighton, everyone in Brighton's in a band. You just can't avoid it. And I think it was just going to happen, because both bands, I feel like I joined by accident. And so with King Goat, I was out at a bar and some guy said, we're looking for a drummer. And I just said, I'll do it. And it had been quite a while since I drummed at that point, so I was kind of blagging it. But yeah, and I sort of forgot all about it until like a couple of days later, he'd sent me a message saying, oh, we've got practice tonight. Oh, better go along. And I think, you know, you never really think a band's going to go anywhere when it starts. You're just like, oh, I'm in a room with some guys, we're playing some music. But before we knew it with that, you know, we were recording an album, and we had a label that was putting it out. And Wallowing, I joined sort of through a weird coincidence. I'd been filling in for another drummer at a house show that Tom had put on in his house. And Tom and Rory, they used to live together. They used to put on loads of bands like in their kitchen. And I was just filling in, and I met them, and you know. And then a couple of years later, you know, I think we met a few times here and there. He just messaged me saying, I'm starting this project. Do you be interested in drumming? And at the time, I don't think he had huge ideas for it, because he was doing a lot with his other bands at that point. But sometimes, you know, when there's a good feeling and when things start to sort of go well, everyone sort of goes, all right, this is the thing we should be focusing on. And so it sort of ended up in Wallowing by accident, and King Goat. But I was just having a great time, you know. And I think Tom especially is so passionate about Wallowing, and he's got so many ideas, and there's, you know, so much drive that you get really caught up in it. And everyone was, you know, the Wallowing guys are all amazing, and they put so much into it. It just, yeah, I mean, it's hard to schedule it. It was hard to fit it all in around the games, but you sort of try and forget that, because you're really enjoying it, you know.
Yeah.
I think, and then obviously the Wallowing stuff was going so well, and you know, we'd done festivals and we'd done the 2 albums. I think that the thing I realized most recently was actually that the success of it was less interesting to me than just the music. And obviously, you know, I think they've got, you know, miles and miles more success in them, and I'm just happy to play the music. So maybe someone who's more into, you know, got more of a drive for that, I think it'll be really good for them, you know.
As you said yourself as well, the balancing of what you're doing is incredible.
Yeah.
I have to ask, because I just want to know if I've ever actually seen you play with Wallowing. When did that end?
So I left in November, so I played everything up until November.
So just literally November 2024.
24, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
so I've basically seen you in pretty much every show up until the most recent stuff then. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
fabulous.
Yeah. And I think that's the funny thing, isn't it? Because actually, the guys haven't talked about. We didn't do an announcement, and it's not that kind of band where you would. And a lot of people, because of the suits and everything, have no idea who's playing what or who's doing what. So that's quite funny. I've actually been to see them on the last tour when they came through Manchester. So that was cool. They're really good. I was like, oh wow, this band's pretty cool.
Just to see it from that perspective.
Yeah,
A little, but did you have a little part of you that just did miss it though? Like the reasons and you've got all of that, but you're looking at them thinking, I wish I could get back up there.
Yeah, and in some way, it was weird. I didn't feel like I wanted to get back up and play it, but I missed the guys and I miss having it as part of my life. So I'm just making a real effort to stay in touch with them. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of missed the creative side of it. I don't really miss the touring and the gigs as much as the sort of creative and collaborative side of it. But it was a hard decision. It took me like 6 months to finally come around to the idea that I should. There was a long bit of time when I was really thinking about it and
trying to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was sort of wrestling with it for quite a long time, but I think it's all worked out for the best, and they got someone else in. He's an amazing drummer, so I think they're
happy, for yourself as well. What an incredible load of experiences you've had in regards to that, and how it helped develop you as a musician as well, because you've been able to use this side of you in your games, notably in your latest game, Badlands Crew. Yeah. So I have to ask now. Obviously, the answer might be really simple here: 4-person team. Why do the soundtrack when that's a lot of extra work?
Yeah, well, I didn't plan to originally, and we actually had the guy did the soundtrack on the last 2 games. I was talking to him about it, but he just didn't have the time, and he was sending me stuff that he wasn't happy with, and so I kind of did one. I was like as a template for him. I was like, maybe sort of like this, sort of hoping to inspire him, and I just thought I'll spend a little bit of time. And then I was like, well, it didn't take me that long. And he just said, I haven't got enough time anyway. I thought, well, if I spend one Saturday a month doing a track, maybe a Saturday and a Sunday, and I get to do that. And then eventually I had the idea, what if I get Tom to play some like guitar solos on it? And so it just kind of ended up happening. And I did reach out to a few other people to see if they could kind of add to it. But in the end, Tom was the only one who did. I was hoping some other people would come up with some stuff, and we had budget for it as well. That's the thing with the publisher. They give you a budget that you can pay people. And a lot of musicians, because I only did one half of the soundtrack, I guess, as well. So I'd done the in mission stuff, which is the heavy guitars and the drums. We also got a full little skiffle band to do the other half, which is in the relaxed sections back at the bass. So that was nice. We did manage to use some of that budget we'd been given, which was good. But yeah, it kind of happened by accident, and I was enjoying playing the guitar. I was enjoying writing stuff, and it was nice to get Tom to do his solos. And by the time I'd done half of it, I was like, well, I may as well finish it.
So not necessarily something that was a difficult or pain for you, but something you enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice actually, because I think that's probably the thing that helped actually with figuring out the Wallowing stuff was I was like, well, at least I've got this creative stuff still happening. At least I've kind of got that to keep me going in some kind of music way, even though a lot of it was happening while I was still in Wallowing. I didn't feel like I was completely giving up music because I still had something coming out.
That leads me to the obvious next question then. Was it enjoyable enough that you would consider being part of the music in a future game, whatever that might be?
I think so. I think it depends on the game.
Of course.
I think I'm probably not going to be able to do a whole load of different genres. I can play a guitar loud. I can do certain things, but I think if we need something more orchestral or more subtle, I have to get someone else in because that's not my remit.
I understand. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, John, I'm going to pull some more cards out now, and you've got actually a
Right.
question from the band, the Dirty Denims, who are a Netherlands rock band. They ask, who is the most famous person you've met, and were they nice to you?
Oh, most famous person I've met. Hmm. I'm sure I've met some famous people, you know. Sure I have. The one I'm thinking of, and he's probably maybe not the most famous, but he's the one I can remember most quickly, is I met Norwood Fisher from Fishbone, and he was very nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
met him at the Underworld probably about 10 years ago, and had a quick chat, and then he went outside for a smoke. But I think and I only remember that because I went to see Fishbone again recently, and I was
Okay.
remembering back to that. But I'm sure I've met more famous people. There's some famous people I haven't met, but weirdly, I was in a WhatsApp group with the members of Franz Ferdinand and Churches, and we would play Mario Kart time trials against each other. And they're really good at Mario Kart, like ridiculous at Mario Kart. Some of their times are like, within a second of the actual world record. And we were trying to keep up with their time trials. And in the end, we just had to stop because there was no way I was going to be as good as those guys. And they were really nice, but far too good at Mario Kart. Far too good at it.
That's incredible. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I've got a gaming one for you. What is your earliest memory of playing a video game?
Earliest memory. So when I was a kid, I remember playing a lot. We mostly played PC games. And the big ones for me when I was a kid, Lemmings.
Oh, yeah.
Wing Commander. I played a lot of Wing Commander. I was obsessed with Wing Commander as a kid. I remember playing a lot of Lemmings around at my cousin's house. And I'd go around as a friend of mine, I'd go around to his most days after school. We'd play on his Commodore 64, and we'd play mostly just Bobble Bobble on the Commodore 64. Once you could load in, at least we had to leave the tape running for a little while. But so those are probably the ones I grew up on. Yeah.
Love that question.
Yeah.
I love that question. It's how you can find out a person's age. Just by which consoles they go to.
Yeah. No,
Put it this way, I'm quite familiar with the Commodore 64 too. A little bit too familiar with it.
It was good times. It was good.
Right. Speaking of Badlands Crew, it's sitting on, and I looked within the last, what time is it? Yeah, the last hour. Sitting on very positive after 762 reviews, which is incredible for Steam. It's Steam, goddamn! You must be pleased.
Oh yeah, really happy. Yeah, I think it's the thing we worry about the most, because if you go out to mixed reviews, it's so hard to recover. I think the thing is, obviously, even though we're very positive, we're reading through all the comments, we're reading through everything, and a lot of our next patch will be to address the sort of the few negative things there are. So, but yeah, it's nice. It makes it all worthwhile when you see that, and it is difficult nowadays. The reviews are always tough. I think that's the thing.
It's so important on Steam as well, because you go to that page and it's there, and and obviously because of the color coding, if it's it can stand out sometimes.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, I know personally, if I go onto a page and I was looking at a game, I was thinking about buying it, but then I read mixed reviews, quite often that puts me off. And there's not much you can do about that, is there? I mean,
Thankfully, that's not the case here.
Yeah, quite lucky.
Well, describe the satisfaction you feel seeing something you've created. This is obviously not your first rodeo, but this is this is your latest creation. Something you created being received so well.
It's really nice. It's the detail that some of the players actually go to and the lengths they go to sometimes, because we've got a group of players that are so invested in the game, and they can build their own battle wagons in there, and they obviously, some players are just putting a few turrets on and leaving it, but some of the things that people are building are incredible. Stuff I never would have thought of. These crazy designs that are sort of all spiraling off in different directions, or they've really gone to town on like painting it and decorating it. So we've had these battle wagon building competitions on the Discord and photo competitions, and the stuff they send in, it's amazing. And you just think that's really nice. You know, we did all that work, but people are really not just enjoying it in a sort of lightweight way. They're really getting into it, and they understand it. They know what we were going for. It's great, really. Yeah.
Passion, man. It is fabulous to see people get passionate about something, anything, let alone a game. Because obviously, gameplay-wise, it's not always going to be for everybody, like a lot of games. But this does have an accessibility that perhaps wasn't necessarily there in the earlier games. Sum up to me, please, an overview of gameplay, but from the perspective, if you were trying to sell it to someone who's never played any of the games, this is the first one they're ever coming to.
Okay, so Badlands Crew is a strategy game about crew management set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. You level up and build your vehicle and your crew, and then you take them out on missions. And in the missions, while you're directing the vehicle, you're actually mostly telling your crew what to do. So it's more about commanding your crew, telling them what to repair, which stations to use, that kind of thing. So it's more strategy on that side, but it is fast paced, so there's an element of action. So that's the kind of game it is. There's not a huge number of games closely aligned, but we always thought FTL was sort of the big one that made the genre popular at the beginning. So it's like that kind of gameplay, but with a longer campaign and obviously taken to a much grander scale.
There it is. Absolutely. What's it's very obviously it's been out since what, 28th of April, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's about a month.
Yeah, it is. It's the 29th today. You're absolutely right. It is a month. So at this stage, I guess it must be hard to kind of gauge what success might look like. But what's a measure of success for you, and how do you as an indie studio kind of like measure it when you're playing with a game like this?
So I think for us, we've always just talked about if we can carry on to the next game, then we're good. And I think that's the main thing. And it looks like that should be fine. So we're happy. But that's really what we've always measured it on. When we were doing Bomber Crew and that was about to come out, we're like, well, this is kind of when we find out whether we get to do another one. And, because otherwise, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but we'd have to figure out a new plan. But I think for now we're, looking pretty positive. We should be able to just carry on.
That's obviously fabulous to hear. We want it to be successful, whatever that might mean. But also, like, you've got to be effectively, you've got the publisher, you've also got to do PR. Yeah. You've got to get out there and you've got to talk and spread the word as much as possible about a game release. But that is so difficult when everyone's screaming about something or another. Do you have a plan amongst you as a group of four about how you continue to push the game, particularly post-release?
So I think a lot of it, especially now, and this has changed quite a bit since we did Bomber Crew. I think nowadays it's more about reaching into the community, engaging with them, talking to the fans, and sort of listening to a lot of what they say. So I like to lurk on our Discord and read what they're saying. I don't usually get too involved chatting to people because obviously we've got so much else on, but it's sort of about making sure we are paying attention to everything they're saying, doing things to address that, and sort of rolling it into our future plans as well. What things do they like in this game that we can think about for the future. I think that's what, and it wasn't really the same on Bomber Crew, because I think back then the community stuff wasn't something we were so aware of, and it wasn't such a big thing actually in terms of like Discord and all of that. It was more to do with streamers back then. I think that was the big thing. In 2017, it was a lot of it was to do with that. But nowadays, the community is really, and a lot of them have stuck with us on the previous couple of games and onto this one. So just trying to make sure that we give them what they're hoping for.
That's incredible. That's to such a degree, especially when you mentioned streamers, and I said, "Oh yeah," like because that still feels like an important part of it. But
Oh,
you
yeah,
are right. I think when I think in my head, I'm like, "Oh, is it quite as important as it once was?" Again, I don't think it is.
yeah. I mean, it's so hard to tell, and all these things change so quickly. And I guess we only get the opportunity to think about it once every few years when we have a game out. So
Mm,
by the time we come back to the next game, everything's changed again. And I think we found that, and obviously the guys that are publisher, they have a more of an eye on this because they can with their other games and everything. But for us, it's like we've been kind of submerged for 2.5 years, kind of headphones on, looking at the computer, not really able to look at anything else. And then suddenly we're like, oh right, okay, we're here. What is it this time? What's the so yeah, it's odd, and the industry's changed since the pandemic, especially. The industry's changed a lot. I think
mm.
it changed during it, and then it changed again after it, and it's very different. In Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, there's more people on subscription models. Steam is obviously such a big deal to us.
Mm.
With Badlands Crew with Steam only as well, and the previous games we did console at launch. So it's strange how much it changes, but I suppose fun.
Well, I have to ask because you brought it up now. It's obviously Badlands Crew is Steam only. What is there plans? Console? Is it just wait and see?
It's a bit of wait and see.
Yeah.
It's figuring it out with the publisher because obviously they'll be the ones that make that decision in the end. I think it used to be something that we'd have more of a say in, but I think this time we've kind of got to go with their lead because things are a lot different. Things are a lot tighter, I think, in terms of that kind of stuff. But I'd love to do it. It's just a case of getting the agreement.
Of course.
Um,
Thing is, there's no excuse. Steam is so widely available and so
oh yeah,
accessible to all. There's simply no excuse. Even though, Steam has its own issues, and
oh yeah,
particularly post-release, that's kind of where you've got to try and still stand out on that market is a real challenge,
oh
it
yeah, yeah.
seems.
Oh, there's so many games. So many. I mean, I have so many games in my Steam library that I've almost forgotten I bought. And I've been going through lately, and I sort them by Steam review score, and then I scroll through until I see one that I'm like, oh, that looks good, and just I don't know where half of them have come from. Bundles in the past, or these, just yeah.
Thing is,
Yeah.
it's not much better on consoles these days. The marketplaces for Xbox and Nintendo in particular, they're the two I spend the most time on, are also flooded to a certain degree.
Oh yeah.
On Nintendo Switch, well, I mean, I'm going to put it bluntly, I hate their marketplace.
Oh
It's the
yeah.
worst one of all of them.
Mm. Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? And I think it means you can't discover through it. You have to discover somehow else, and
Yes.
that's really difficult, I think, because I mean, often, I mean, the games I've played recently, quite often it's been word of mouth or just a small recommendation from,
Mm.
I played, uh, what was that called? Tactical Breach Wizards, just off someone's recommendation. And that was so cool. And I can't even remember who recommended it, but been a few games lately where it's just been like one person's mentioned it. I'm like, oh, give that a go. But I don't know how else people find things with everything that's coming out all the time.
It is that it's word of mouth and it's reviews. It's someone mentions something online and then you kind of hopefully you just decide watch a trailer, check it out. But
Yeah.
considering you have so much going on, do you find you have much time to play games yourself?
Here and there. I mean, there's some games I'll really make time for, and I'll make a real effort for. I don't play quite as many long games. I think that's the main thing because sort of knowing that I have a consistent amount of time. Otherwise, I feel like I started it, and then a whole load of stuff happens, and then I can't get back into it because I've forgotten what's happening, or
Fair.
I think there's all of that. But there's certain series I'll make extra time for. All the Yakuza series games, I played every single one. I'll go out of my way to make time to play all of those. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, huge fan of it.
Yakuza. I've only played one, but my brother
Okay. Mm.
played them all. He's gone his way through Like a Dragon. He's constantly telling me the good and the bad ones. I played Yakuza Zero. It's the only one
Yeah,
I played, and I liked it.
yeah.
But they're big games.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I've completed all of them, but that's over the space of, I don't know, 12, 13 years now, probably. So But they're the ones that I sort of, another one's coming out maybe next year or whenever it is. I'll be, well, those weekends they're going to be full of that, So I think, other games. So I play a lot of retro games. I play some arcade shmups. I've got into the bullet hell, but I just play one credit. If I lose, that's it. So a bit of a purist on that, and then that keeps it quite quick. So that's like a 20-minute. Play some good ones lately. Those.
Well, what's a comfort game? A game you can always go back to and enjoy no matter how many times you've played it.
Mario Kart. Play quite a lot of Mario Kart. Splatoon 3 I've played a lot of.
Okay.
I go back to that. Crazy Taxi. The
arcade ones, yeah.
Yeah, really enjoy those. Other comfort games. Sometimes I go back and I play through the Command and Conquer games. I've played a lot of those over the years. Played a lot of Generals in uni, Command and Conquer General.
Oh, wow.
We've discovered that in our halls, all our PCs were networked, like if you were plugged into the internet. So we just had some days where we'd spend like 12 hours playing Command and Conquer Versus, which was great.
What a game! I mean, you could lose days to that.
Oh yeah, we certainly did. I'm sure there were a few times we skipped lectures for a couple of days just to do that. But it's fine. First year doesn't matter.
Okay, switching it back to music then, and it's really just for now what's going on now. So from a music perspective, do you have any projects going on right now? Anything that you would potentially like to share that you might be gearing up to or getting involved in?
So I've been jamming with a guy that we used to do music way back, and we've actually done 2 little EPs. But we're sort of keeping it. We're like, well, we're not going to gig it. We're just going to keep it, a recording project, and that's called Zufall, Zufall, and that's kind of like a sort of psych rock, krautrock kind of experimentally thing we've been doing.
Cool.
And I've been jamming with some other guys, but just sort of to be in a room playing drums, and that's not really got any aim. We just go and we play riffs, and I've said to them, don't make me play a gig, but I'll show up. So I got that, but that's kind of it. I've been looking to see if there's anything we can do with the Badlands Crew soundtrack to get that like pressed as a record, which might be so I put a little bit of a reach out to people, but so that's kind of, I think that the Zufall stuff's kind of the only like actually public music I've been doing since Wallowing.
It's great to hear you are doing something. I believe your last release for Zufall was Leechdom's for the Afflicted, right?
Yeah, that's
last
the one.
year.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yep. That EP is over on Bandcamp. Go check that out. And of course, I should say the Badlands soundtrack is available, of course, like on Steam as well.
Steam, and someone's uploaded it on YouTube. So
have they? Okay.
Yeah, some fans uploaded it, which is quite cool. So.
Oh, I was about to say, you okay with that? Do you kind of a lot? Yeah.
No, I think that's fine. I think it's quite nice that. I think if people want to hear it, they should be able to get it easily.
Fair enough. Okay, we're coming to an end, John. We're almost at an hour, so I've got a couple more from the head for you before we wrap up with one last question. Right. So, generalized question: what is a scary fandom?
Scary fandom. Quite lucky not to have been involved in any that are too scary.
Cool.
I don't know. I know some people are really like big into certain things. They get a bit much, don't they? But I don't really know much about that scary fandom.
As a result, that you've not run into any.
Yeah, no, I think I'm always, when people are into something, I always just find that quite nice. And I've not really thought about it too much. I know they're out there. I know there's some weird stuff out there. seen the internet, but sorry, that's not a very good answer. But I don't really know of one explicitly. I think.
No worries. Right, gaming one. Fallout or Elder Scrolls?
Fallout.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. New Vegas and Fallout 3, I really liked both of those games. Yeah. And I kind of like Fallout 4. You know, I played a lot of it. I didn't like it as much as 3 in New Vegas, but it was still great. You know, I love the setting. I really enjoyed the TV series as well.
Hey, yeah, you enjoyed that too, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I agree. I pretty much feel the same way. New Vegas 3, top notch. 4, yeah, it's cool. Not as good, and the show was decent, so we're all on board. And speaking of TV film, that's the last one of the cards. So what is your favourite animated, well, not necessarily your favourite, one of your favourite animated TV shows?
Animated TV shows. Okay. So I've been watching some anime recently, and I really enjoyed Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
But I also really like Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill. I like a lot of that kind of stuff. King of the Hill, I think, is amazing and hilarious. So yeah, I like the Western stuff as well as anime. But I think Chainsaw Man I thought was incredible. It was just so nuts. King of the Hill is back soon, so they're doing a reboot in a couple of months. Looking forward to that.
You actually are looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, just to see what I think. Mike Judge has done so many good things, and I find that he has certain ways of phrasing things and putting things that just really crack me up. So I was always a Beavis and Butthead fan. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. All right. Lastly, and it's always going to be this question, really. It's what's next for Runner Duck? And of course, you've talked about patches and continuing, obviously, to busy away, make Badlands Crew the best it can possibly be via what the community suggests to you and stuff like that. But are you thinking about the future? And I realize, obviously, you're not going to be able to go into much detail. But if there's anything you can share, please tell me.
I mean, we're starting to think about it. I think there's not really much I can say without the publisher getting angry at me. So
of course.
I think probably just that we will be doing something and we'll be starting at some point soon, I guess. So that's probably all I'll be allowed to say on that.
Oh, I love questions like that because it doesn't matter what industry it is, whether it be music, film, or games, whoever I'm talking to gets stuck in the same thing, which is how much can actually be said. And I have had many times where I've had to go back and edit an interview because something was said that shouldn't have been said. It is what it is. But you have been so non-committal there. There's no worries.
I'm very good at that.
What a pro. That shows how long you've been in this industry.
Cool.
Of course, Badlands Crew, it is out now, available on Steam. Do check it out. It's a fabulous game. It is great to see it progress, particularly what you've been doing in the studio to this point. And no doubt the fan base will be very excited to see what comes next. And obviously in your personal life, fingers crossed you continue to work in music. And who knows what that will bring. And do check out what's available out there, right? And I guess just, be cool to see what comes next, really. John, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. Really great to speak to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.